Hello. Okay, so let's do weekly recap, and let's start with this Euro USD trade. So what we have here is this really nice and clear break with average supply and demand zone. So you see, it's kind of okay, but I mean, this candle is really nice, this full body candle, but it's so small in relation to relatively overextended impulse. So even though it's like really clear, but a bit overextended, and price just returned to it, showed some reaction. I entered here, stopped me out. I entered one more time on the comeback and then continued almost to take profit, but then went to break even. What we have here, so first of all, this happened like 2 hours after London opened. I left a note here for myself that zone on 5 minutes was better, and this impulse was created after the news. And to be honest, usually the London news, they don't create sustained moves in my experience. So usually if we have some news on New York, they will act like this. So before the news, something like this will happen. Maybe even the structures will start to build up, and then the news will just make this move or like this move and snap back, but overall hold the zone and continue. And I will try to show you these examples when I will find them, but usually this is something what happens. And you see 5 or 10 minutes they had some unmitigated parts above, and I was trying to enter here on this structural move. I also made a note that 1 hour is real and clear, and yes, as you see, so basically we were in this range. So technically we broke here to the upside. Oh, I see, we even broke here. So we have upside, then one break, second break, a third. So actually 1 hour was not so bad, but it's kind of this boxy price action, you know. And 4 hours. So the main idea for this week, so previous week, as you remember, we were trading from this move and this zone, and trading this move, and then it broke once again, and now we are just looking to take this down. But specifically in this place, given into consideration the daily as well, you see, like daily is kind of dead. So a box on a box on a box, and yeah, that's why I can't consider this as a high quality setup, but it was okay. So I had a loser and a loser once again, yeah, basically in the same zone. Now let's move on to the next trade. Here we have GBPUSD, so the same day, but later during New York, we have this bearish push. So I was looking, the daily is kind of unclear, it's just boxy, so I was looking at this. We have this break maybe on 10 hours, I think. Yeah, so basically 12 hours is something that I looked for. So we have this one, we have this unmitigated zone, and then some refinements that we can make. So basically on 12 hours, 8 hours, and this kind of time frames, the zone was this one. The zone was this one, and the price tapped into it, and I was just looking to sell it. Right away, it would be perfect if it was tapping a bit further, but I decided to go for it. Sorry for this. And now on 1 hour, you see we are in this counter wave that I was talking during the previous outlooks. Again, right now for me it's okay, but it would be better if we were entering somewhere here, and this is where, by the way, I will have a winner later in the week. And this trade, as you can see, it worked out like directionally, but first stop me out. So 2 hours is not perfect and actually against us. The same is with 1 hour. It made this push into the zone and I started to sell during the New York. 15 minutes is just against me, and actually what was with me is this 1 minute. Yeah, so you see we have these impulses during London started to come into the zone as like barely tap. You see the big problem with this trade is that we like barely tap the zone and just had one shift to the downside, again barely tapped into the bigger zone, and no refinements, and I just started to sell, got stopped out, and then price started to fall later during New York. A bit fell a bit and then came up. So yeah, it's just a loser. But then I think during the next day it worked out. Let's just see. Yeah, during the next day it worked out, and let's see how it developed on lower time frames. Because you see, I'm still entering counter wave even on 5 minutes. So this kind of entry would be better. So we had some shifts, then reshifted bullish. Yeah, and on 5 minutes. So this is first time we are shifting on 5 minutes. Let's see if we had something here. Yeah, really nice. You see, so we have this huge 5-minute range. This is like almost before the New York Open. It will open here, and I think probably this range should hold. Yeah, so I mean, you see, it's like perfect mitigation with this zone, and yeah, it's kind of a bit crazy again, but this is a better entry, much better entry. And then a lot of opportunities on lower time frames, of course, as you can see, if we are waiting for some shifts to the downside. So one more loser here, and let's go to the next trade. So this one is like really not typical for me. So I was waiting. So we have during London Open this real nice impulse, and price started to pull back again. The context for this is still the same. So we have this this shift on 4 hours and just looking to meet these lows, and that's all. So basically that's all context. And I was just looking for some bearish signs on lower time frames. And I had this zone. So this is like the last, basically the last unmitigated portion in this zone. So this all mitigated and a bit here, but I decided to go for here, and it never tapped me. So like it never tapped me and just fell to take profit. But it was a sell limit and I forgot to remove it. So I went to the gym, and then just later, like really late in the evening, I came back and just opened the terminal, and this is what happened. So remember, this is the zone which I had from London, this unmitigated portion. It created, by the way, it created this 15-minute range, which is pretty ugly, but still some structural move. And then see what it did. It just tapped me in and started to fall. So it created structural moves on 1 minute. So I entered on this forgotten sell limit, and it started to fall. It started to mitigate. It started to really hold the structure. You see, one more zone created here. Again, mitigation of a zone, and fall there. So here, so this is an entry possibility. This is an entry possibility. And it just fell and continued to fall, and it went all the way to 20R during this week, but I closed everything at 5. Where was my take profit? So let's see how it developed. So it just fell during the New York, holding the structure on 1 minute, and then I think made a pullback. No, it just continued to fall late in the session. So this is Asia. Made this pullback, and let's go to the next trade. Okay, I had one more loser here on JPY. It's like really low quality. I don't even want to discuss it because even sometimes you can learn from a loser, you can't learn from this one. Okay, so let's just keep it and save some time. And then we had 2 break evens and then 1 move winner. So let's go to these break evens. And we had them on Euro USD. So what happened? We started to create this 1 hour wave with structural moves, with structure that breaks. I had this overextended consecutive break. So as you know, right now I'm like, if we have, for example, on a given time frame, 4, 5, 6, especially 7 consecutive breaks, I'm expecting. So now it means that the move, some kind of a wave, is kind of happened, and it's a bit late to step into the market, and we want to see a re-break to the other side. It will reset the calculation of these consecutive breaks, and we can continue to follow the move. But usually it makes sense to wait. Not always. Of course, we can have even 10 or 12 consecutive breaks. And this was my move. The move is clear. The zone is also, I mean, we can use this zone, but I was using this refinement, maybe even from something from 15 minutes, like 30 minutes. And so my first entry was this one. As you can see, it created structural moves, and it went to some profit, but then moved me out at break even. A big problem with this entry is that it happened, you see, the pullback started and we had some logical zones to hit later, and this is the time between London and New York. So London opened here, kind of made the first move, and then you see this lunchtime, it's like almost nothing happened, and I try to continue. But usually if you have these zones a bit higher, it makes sense to allow the New York to go and grab some liquidity above, mitigate the zone, and continue. So this is actually what I did, and I waited. So this is our main zone. We had a tap and we had a really nice shift on. Really nice shift on 1 minute, and we had a tap, I had an entry, and then when price shifted, I moved to BE and was taken out at break even, but the price just continued to move down, and went to 6R. And by the way, yeah, so this were 2 break evens, and then I had 1 winner on GU again. So this is the last trade for this recap and for the week. So this is the same move on GU. Okay, so this is the same time I just showed, but I just went to GU because I was break even on EU, and this is what we had on 1 hour. You see, we started to shift, so shift bullish, bearish, some shift to the bearish side there, and we had this hidden S&D. You see, a move, everything mitigated, and this is the last unmitigated portion. And this is again a bit based on experience, I guess, because what I saw, so during this time, so this is the same range you saw like on EU, but EU really held the range, and GU started to move a bit up, and when it did it, it never broke on 15 minute. So this is a zone on 30 minute, on 15 minute, and it never broke there. And when it made this move and started the small push, so maybe on lower time frames we had some structural shifts, I just entered here, and I decided, okay, if the zone wants to hold, maybe it will hold here, and it just fell to 5R and then to 10R eventually, but I exited at 5R. So this was the whole move, and as you see, it was never even, it never came back to break even. So yeah, so this is it. And see you during the next recap.